Hello Sharks, I am Jonathan Little for PokerCoaching.com here today with a very interesting hand from poker video blogger Jaman Burton, the Drawing Dead. He has an amazingly fun video blog here on YouTube, youtube.com/Jaman Burton. We'll put a link below. Make sure you check him out. Go there, click like, click subscribe. He primarily plays cash games. He is a computer scientist by day, but a poker player by night, kind of like a superhero. If you watch his video blogs, they have a comic book vibe, a superhero vibe, right? And in today's hand, we're going to see if he is going to, well, be a superhero who wins or one who gets crushed by his foes. Let's go ahead and get right to this interesting hand from 2-5 no limit at Bellagio.
Here I'm in the big blind with ace-8 offsuit. Not a particularly strong hand, but defendable. And when a middle position player opens to $15, I do just that. The flop is a pretty benign queen-queen-9 rainbow, and I check. The opener continues for $10, which is about a third of the pot, which in a sim isn't uncommon. However, in live play, and particularly at this table, it's a little strange.
So here he mentions that from a GTO point of view, it's perfectly fine to bet small on paired boards, and very often you should be betting small. But at Bellagio or the Wynn or Aria or any major casino, you will find that most people bet very, very big. They would bet $25 in this scenario with the majority of their range. So it is kind of odd to see this bet sizing from a player in a 2-5 cash game. This is a stake where you'll play with some very good players, but also some not so good players. And it's interesting, right? Anytime you see something that is kind of weird, usually it means your opponent is either very strong or very weak. I have no way of knowing which one it is, but that is important to note right off the bat. When you see like weird bet sizes, it often indicates something about your opponent's range. I actually have a free PDF you can go and download with lots and lots of cash game tips. If you are a cash game player, check it out, pokercoaching.com/cash tips, to make sure that you don't make a common error that will cost you a lot of money in the long run. So facing this small bet, I think really the only option is to call. It's kind of an annoying spot because your opponent could just be betting small with like ace jack, right? Or pocket fours. But I think it's fine.
I call.
I will say you should overfold from the big blind in general. If I was in this scenario against a completely unknown player, I'd probably just fold. In this scenario, your equity realization is going to be very bad because usually if your opponent has worse than ace high, like say they have king jack or jack 8, they're just going to keep betting the turn in the river and you're going to have to fold by the river, right? That said, if your opponent is a little bit more loose, splashy, passive on the turn in the river, I think it's certainly reasonable to check call and then sometimes just win when it shows down, or maybe decide to bluff later if the board runs out scary. But this is not just like a easy hero call in my mind because we're in pretty bad shape. If we even had like ace 10, I would definitely call, but I think ace 8 and lower with no backdoor flush draw is just not a great hand here. I would have called though. Maybe folded. I don't know. It's close. It's borderline.
The turn 6 of clubs shouldn't change much about the opener's holdings. I check and he bets $30, but again,
my spider senses are starting to tingle.
Something feels wrong. A combination of betting speed, his body language, his sizing, or all of them together didn't jive. I call the $30.
Ooh, so here we have very, very exploitative call at this point. While Jaman does beat all the draws, and there are a lot of draws available, he actually has this pesky 8 of clubs in his hand, which is kind of annoying because if you think about the draws that you're in very good shape against, it's going to be jack 8, 10-8, 8-7, and 8-5, right? Obviously, he probably doesn't have a whole lot of 8-5s, but he could certainly have the suited combinations of all the other ones, and we're playing live cash games. People open jack 8 offsuit randomly. And the fact that we have the 8 is kind of rough. Also, the fact that we have the 8 of clubs is kind of rough because now we block some of the random flush draws he could have, like king 8 of clubs. So I don't think this is a particularly great hand to call with. That said, when your spidey senses are tingling, when you can just look and tell that the player is bluffing, well, poker becomes kind of easy. Just don't fold, right?
The river 5 of spades hits, I check, and he goes into the tank.
4x speed, superhero vision. It's a long tank.
And then decides to bet $115.
Pot! He pots it! All right. We have the ace high. Bad blocker. Given the reads we have so far, something funny happened on the flop, something a little funny happened on the turn. We probably think the opponent's on the weaker side. What do we do with this ace-8 in this situation? Are we just going to finally let it go for the pot size bet? Are we going to call? Or are we going to raise? And if we're going to raise, how much? A little bit or a lot? I want you to pause the video and write what you would do in the comment section below to see if you have superhero skills like Jaman. All right. This is a spot where, in my mind, I would fold the vast majority of the time. Why? Because, well, this nasty 8 of clubs in our hand, right? The hands that we want our opponent to have are going to be a lot of hands containing a jack, a 10, or an 8. Maybe a 7. So you don't especially want to have those. We do have the 8-7 that block... so we have the ace-8 that blocks the 8-7, which is nice. So one of the nut hands that they would conceivably play this way missed. But in this spot, I think we should just fold, because your opponent could easily just be getting tricky with a queen. It is worth noting that, yeah, we are trying to read our opponent like a book here. We have a good idea that they are probably bluffing, but when people do something weird, like I said, it usually either means extreme strength or extreme weakness. Which one is it? I don't know. There are lots of strong hands in this scenario available, especially a queen. If you think back to the flop bet size, $10, usually when people make that $10 bet size on the flop, they're trying to keep you in. So this is a spot where, so far, if anything, I would have read this player's bet sizes as strength. That said, I typically don't make reads like this at the poker table unless I have a lot of experience with the opponent. I don't have good spider tinkly senses like Jaman. I recognize this. So I play by the book. I don't try to read them like a book. I just play by the book and don't worry about it. That said, if you can look and tell your opponent's bluffing here, I think you just have a call. I mean, it's unfortunate. I wish you had, like, ace-king or ace-jack, because you will randomly be shown ace-10 or pocket 3s in this scenario. And, ooh, that's a bummer when that happens. I remember one time in a tournament in Jacksonville, I hero called someone on the river. They were, like, triple-barreled, and I called with ace-high. And they're like, oh, you got me. So I turned up my ace-high. I'm like, oh, I have pocket 5s. I win. I'm like, oh, great. I lose. Anyway, this is a scenario where default play is definitely to fold, I think. But with a read, that read changes everything. Let's see if Jaman is a superhero or if he's going to have to go back and work his day job.
Stop. What does that 5 change? Are you going to rep that you opened some variety of 8-7 and then bet flop and turn and then just got there on the river?
It is worth noting, $10 bet size on the flop with 8-7 is probably fine from a GTO point of view, but that's something a lot of people do not do. They usually bet a little bit bigger on the flop to try to get you to fold stuff like ace-high and king-high and whatnot, so 8-7 is kind of unlikely, right?
I guess you could possibly have a queen and be the only person on the table that doesn't go into overprotection mode on the turn.
He did bet 2/3 pot. Seems normalish to me.
I guess. You either have a full house or nothing.
There's not a whole lot of combinations of full houses, and there are a lot of combinations of nothing. This is another interesting concept here, right? Whenever you know, or you're pretty sure, your opponent's very polarized, and you think the hands they would use in their premium portion of their polarized range is a very small number of combinations, like right here, full houses, right? We have queen 9, pocket 9s, pocket 6s, and that's like it, right? Not all that many combinations, but there are a lot of combinations of bluffs. While they're obviously not going to play every single bluff like this, if there's like 200 potential bluffs, not that that's the case here, and something like 15 value hands, even if they play only 25% of those 200 bluffs, as a bluff, they still are drastically over bluffing because they have 25 bluffs and 15 nut hands, right? So they're just, you have an easy call with every bluff catcher. So a cool scenario where you have to make sure you don't think, all right, well, there's 60 bluffs and they play them like this way sometimes, whereas in reality, maybe they play 25% of the 60 bluffs, so they have 15 combinations of bluffs. Maybe they actually have 80 combinations of nuts because maybe they play a bunch of queens in this manner. Again, my numbers are way out of whack. I'm winging it here. But whenever you're counting the combinations in this scenario, you want your opponent to be value betting less than 2/3 of the time, right? We're having to put in one pot size bet to try to get back a total of 3. 1 divided by 3 is 33%. That means we need our opponent to be bluffing more than 33% of the time. So if they have proportionally more value hands in their range than 67%, we should fold. If they have fewer than that, it's a call. So at the end of the day, you can break it down to a math game, but whenever you have the spider senses tingling here, sometimes you just know your opponent has like 70% bluffs, in which case you really should call with everything.
Call the 115.
Nice call.
Obviously you win.
Woo! Obviously you win. Do you think he wins? How fun is this video going to be when he rolls over the ace-10? What do you think?
What is that? I can't see what he has.
Sometimes you run hot. Thanks to Jaman for this hand. Make sure you check out his video blog. It is a lot of fun. We'll have a link below. If you enjoyed this, do me a quick favor, click like and subscribe. Also, if you have any video bloggers who you particularly like, please leave a link to a video they have with a fun hand, a timestamp to a fun hand, and I will consider reviewing it here on my channel if they're cool with that. I like showing off the people who are doing great work in the poker space, and this is a way that I can do it. So, help me out. Help me highlight the people who you like. Good luck in your games. Have a great, great week. We put out lots of content here. If you want to be notified about the content, make sure you click the notification bell below. Good luck, Sharks. I'll talk to you next time. How do you like free stuff? Yeah? Well, good, because I have a free membership to my site, pokercoaching.com, for you. Click. Get out of the way, hat. Click right up there to get it. And while you're at it, go ahead and click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.